Like, do you want to be hampered down by an inconsistent scorer who's making a ton every year? If he's making, $3 or $4 million, that's one thing. You start getting over 5 and you have that on your books for 5-6 years, and he's, being inconsistent the way he is, then I think you have a problem on your hands. And welcome into the Bruins Beat on CLNS Media. My name is Evan Marinofsky. We're presented by our good friends over at Fanduel and HelloFresh. And joining me today is the great Mark Divver. Mark, what is up?
Nothing much, Evan. Nothing much. Same old, same old.
You look very comfy. I'm kind of jealous. Is that a recliner?
Yes, it is. If I doze off partway through, just give me a shout, and I'll wake right up.
I think this happens to a lot of our viewers and listeners when I continue to ramble on and talk. I think they have similar impact. It happens to them a bit, and no fault of them. People don't realize how much hockey you and I watch together, because it is. We always say we watch a lot of hockey, which means we watch a lot of bad hockey.
Right.
When we luck out, like this past weekend, you and I took in a bunch of prep school action, and that was pretty good hockey, right? But there are lots of nights during the summer and the spring when we're at a game, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're at a particularly bad game, you're like reassessing your life, like your priorities. Like, what could I be doing if I wasn't doing this? I could be
anything else.
Washing my car, cutting the grass, all kinds of stuff. But yet we keep coming back.
That's the thing. We continue to come back, and I always love that. It's a breath of fresh air. It's always a fun time. So we see all levels. But obviously this is a Bruins podcast. You and I can dive into prep school stuff over at New England Hockey Journal. But with Bruins, 19-5-6, 44 points, first in the Atlantic, second in the East. You're struggling a little bit right now. Where are you at with them? Have you changed your viewpoint on what this team is? Where are you sort of at with this group?
I don't think I've changed. Despite the record, which is unbelievably impressive, I just think they're not a contender to me for the Stanley Cup. Yeah, they'll make the playoffs, but will they win more than a round? I don't know. Will they win a round? Their unbelievable goaltending to this point just covers up some major flaws, I think, in the team. The loss of the guys that they lost from last year. I mean, come on, you just can't replace those guys, and they haven't. They've brought in, some halfway decent players in some positions, but it's not what they had at the end of last season for sure. So, I guess that makes me a pessimist as far as the Bruins are at this point.
I'm with you, and I've been on this train for a while. Like, I think, they have overachieved a bit. The goaltending has certainly helped them. I mean, even the past couple games, the goaltending's been almost phenomenal, and they just haven't really been able to pull through. And that's why I continue to go back to, like, yes, they're first in the Atlantic. I get that, right? I think they're third in the NHL. Old friend Bruce Cassidy is on pace to win the coveted President's Trophy, a second of his career. So good for him. But I don't see this team as a legit cup contender. Now, maybe that means they're going to go freaking win it. Like I've said that all year. Like maybe because we don't see it, they're going to go actually win this thing. But I watch games like, the past couple of overtime losses and blown third period leads. And to me, it comes back to, and this is something you and I talk about in the rink all the time, is the losses of Bergeron and Krejci are catching up to them because you don't have the depth up front that you once had. And I think that that's sort of hurting them at the moment. And it didn't look like that at the beginning of the year. I don't know if they were playing on adrenaline or what. But right now, I don't know. I think it's caught up to them a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right about that. I think that Minnesota game the other night, Minnesota has that top line that is as good as anybody's top line.
Yes.
When they're going. And the Bruins didn't have an answer for them in the third period and in overtime. And a lot of teams don't have an answer for Kaprizov and Boldy and those guys. But, I think that kind of crystallizes where the Bruins are at right now in terms of holding leads or winning games. A line like that can take over the game in the third period in overtime and win the game for the Wild. And the Bruins, you hate to keep going back to it, but if they had Bergeron to put out there and they had Krejci to put out there, at the end of the season, if they had the guys they had, Orlov, Hathaway, Bertuzzi, they probably win that game. But, so things change. So I don't know if is that really an argument for where they're at, because they couldn't keep all those guys.
No.
And two of them were going to retire. I don't think them hanging around for another year was realistic. So I think it's just a case of the Bruins taking a step back as expected, realistically, and this is where they're at. Yeah, they have an unbelievable record. They're going to make the playoffs. The old thing is just get in the tournament, and anything can happen. Florida sure proved that last year. So the Bruins are going to make the playoffs, but like I said, I'm not confident that they're going to have any kind of a run in the postseason.
And that's the other thing, is that I think to me, they could make a real run in the postseason. They have the goaltending for it. Like if Swayman and Ullmark go on heaters, it wouldn't shock me if they did go on a run. But looking at this roster, and Coyle's production hasn't been as prevalent as it was a couple weeks ago, and Zaka's back off injury, and Patra's slowed down a little bit production wise. I know he's off at World Juniors now, and I kind of go back to beginning of the season, the way they started, the way Coyle looked, and Coyle I think still has been really good. I think he's been one of their best players this year. I still look at kind of how they have center depth and think, well, beginning of the year I was like, maybe you don't need to go out and get a number one center next offseason. Maybe you can survive with this, and you can kind of do what Vegas did for a little bit there of let's, use guys like Chandler Stevenson and build around him. Now I'm, maybe again, it's, kind of what have you done for me lately? But now I'm looking at it and saying, all right, you do need to figure something out with getting a number one center, whether that is, it doesn't have to be this season. It can be over the offseason. It can be a trade. It can be, I don't know how you're doing free agency, but, and again, you're not in the first round or the second, so I don't know. You're not getting your guy there. So I still think number one center is a need. Now, again, I don't know, can Zaka Coyle be your 1-2, 1-2 forever? What are the steps Patra's going to take in future years? I think those have to be considered. But to me, I agree with you. I think, it wouldn't shock me if they went on a run, but it also wouldn't shock me if they're out in the first round, because, and what we're seeing lately is I think the scoring so far has just kind of dried up a little bit, right?
Yeah, it has. It has. And, not to put it all on Jake DeBrusk's shoulders, but, his numbers, we know what they are. They're not what you expect from him. And if he had, say he had 11 or 12 goals at this point, well, then maybe things would look different this morning, but he doesn't. And you think he will break out of this at some point because he's a good player, but the longer his slump goes on, you wonder, what's his future in terms of a new contract? What does he do the rest of the year? It's up in the air.
I want to hit on this DeBrusk thing because it's, with the OT play the other night, it's kind of on everybody's mind of what is his future? What's he going to do? But first, a quick word from our friends over at Fanduel.
Score early this NFL season with Fanduel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you get your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, so we'll stick with Boston for a bit. You're the Providence expert, so I want to leave that for the end, and so people, can hear your expertise down in Providence because you're always there. DeBrusk, you mentioned it. 4 goals in 29 games, I think, which is staggeringly bad in the sense of just what you expect from a guy like DeBrusk, especially in a contract year. Like, I thought he was going to completely just explode this year. With points and goals and make the decision, get a big contract at the end of the year from somebody. Now it doesn't look so sure. What should they do with him? Because you've been around a while. You've seen similar instances. Like, what should they do with a guy like Jake DeBrusk?
Well, I guess what I would say about him is that they should look to trade him and get the best deal they can. They should test the market. I assume everybody, he's one of the guys that probably is big talked about. But before you back up the Brinks truck and give him a long-term contract worth a lot of money, which is what he's going to get someplace, see what you can get for him. I wouldn't give him away for sure, but he could be involved in a trade that maybe the Bruins can make to better themselves, not just this year, but more importantly, I think down the road. Can you get a high draft pick? Can you package him with something or someone else and make yourself better that way? Before you, like I said, back up the truck and give him all this money. You got to look into that stuff, and I assume that's what's going on in the front office, that they are looking at that. He's not a guy who I think that you're gonna, as much as I like him, you're gonna just give him a blank check. His inconsistency is an issue. There's no question about it, and we're seeing that right now. We saw it before when. A couple of years ago, before even the beginning of last year, the talk of the coach doesn't like him and this and that, and so you gotta see, maybe there's something out there that you can make you a better team by trading him.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at what he could have potentially got in previous off seasons or previous seasons, and maybe he, is worth a first round pick, or you could package him and deal him for a much better player. You could package him, let's say, for Elias Lindholm and put, a couple prospects around him. Yep. And a deal like that, I don't know if that gets it done now. And I agree with you. I still think he has value. He's still a potential 30-goal scorer. Like, he's defensively responsible for the most part. Like, it's tough to give up a guy like that, because it's like what you could be. What he could be is a very strong top 6, 30-goal scorer. Like, that's what he should be. And I think it's I think why he takes so much crap is, like, I think fans look and say he could give so much more. And there are times he does and there are times he doesn't. And, I go back to, like, I would love to get, if possible, realistically, because I don't know if packaging him for a better player like a Lindholm is still on the table. If it is, awesome. Like, that's great. But if you could get a higher draft pick, even if it was like a, I don't know, high second or something, like, just to get you back in the mix, I wouldn't hate that. But I'm like you. I would be so curious to see what a team would give for DeBrusk, because I do think, like, I don't know if you're dealing him to a contender, because you could see him in the playoffs. Like, I don't know if that's what you want to do. Does a younger rebuilding team take a chance on him? But then if you're giving up future assets, if you're a young and rebuilding team, that doesn't make sense. So, like, I don't know. I feel like this is almost kind of unprecedented, because the Bruins are, third in the NHL. To deal off a legitimate piece, or what should be, I feel like that doesn't happen often. And I agree with you. I think if you can find the right deal, do it. But I don't know. I feel that they might just hold on to him and say, let's see what we can get out of him down the stretch. What do you think?
Yeah, they might do that. Don Sweeney has a track record of being very cautious on trades. So, yeah, they might decide to just wait and see. But two things about Jake is he has had some tremendous postseason performances.
Yes.
Remember, was it a Game 7 against Toronto a few years back?
Yep, it was.
He just was unbelievable. So, and he has a record of success in the playoffs, which a lot of guys out there don't have. I think he has 22 playoff goals career. That's a good showing.
It is.
The second thing is, I think he's at the point in his career, and media people, fans do this all the time. They think that he can develop into something more than what he is, when a lot of times what you see is what he is. Maybe he's not going to be a consistent scorer. He's going to be a streaky guy who puts up 27 goals one year and has 17 the next year. So I think what you see with him is what you get, and that's why I wouldn't. That's one of the reasons why I wouldn't hesitate to trade him if the right deal came along. I'm not talking about giving him away for 75 cents on the dollar, but if the right trade came along, I would do it.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I agree. I don't think people are like, just get rid of him. It's like, no, like he has value. He still has value. And if you're not getting the right deal for him, you hold on to him. But I agree in the sense that, he's going to want a big deal. He has the potential to be a guy who gets a big contract. But I just, do you want to be hampered down by an inconsistent scorer who's making a ton every year? If he's making, $3 or $4 million, that's one thing. You start getting over 5 and you have that on your books for 5-6 years, and he's, being inconsistent the way he is, then I think you have a problem on your hands. But Mark, what's never a problem on people's hands? HelloFresh. HelloFresh is always a good thing to have. I love HelloFresh because, we're running the rinks, but I always take some time to rip some HelloFresh. So for more on that, here's HelloFresh. Quick break in the action to tell you about our delicious friends over at HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. A crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut, but keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week. There's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. Turn to HelloFresh Market for yummy add-ons and enjoy the season's limited time fall flavors lineup. It's that time of year, right? Things get you in the mood, like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. All the ingredients come fresh, from the crushed tomatoes to the Italian chicken sausage mix to the Parmesan cheese. It's delicious, and I feel like a chef when I'm doing it. What's better than that? And this is a busy time of year for me with hockey starting up. I don't always have a ton of time, so this recipe makes it quick to enjoy something amazing. So join in on the fun. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Now, back to the show. All right, Providence. This is what I really want to talk to you about. This is what I love. This week, Ryan Mujanel came out and had some pretty sharp comments at Fabian Lysell. Now, I did not watch the game on Wednesday night that was on, I think, NHL Network against the Marlies. I was at Catholic Memorial in Hingham, so I was more exciting hocky.
Well, you saw a better game than Providence, Toronto.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of those players could play in that Providence Toronto game, but they certainly put on a show at Warrior. there was another clip I saw, Mr. Tenkrat tweet of Fabian Lysell trying to dangle into 5 guys as he enters the zone. And there was another one that was tweeted earlier in the week that Mooj was talking about that I think everybody had a different opinion on. What have you thought of Lysell's game this year? I know he has, he does have points, but I think it's those finer details and those hockey IQ type plays that kind of continue to hold him back. What do you think?
He's a very frustrating player to watch for me because you can see the talent, you can see the speed, you can see the skill. And yeah, his numbers aren't bad, but it feels like they should be a lot more. He should have a lot more. And he, the skating the puck into traffic has been a constant going back to last year. He just, time after time, he does it. Skates in, there's 4 guys, there's 5 guys. I don't care what level of hockey it is. You're not getting through that. You're not getting through those guys. And the coach has called him out, talks to him privately all the time about it and, said it publicly the other day. And, a month or so ago, Mooj said close to the same thing, how he needs to get inside and, buy in more to a team game. A lot of times I feel like there's 3 teams on the ice. There's the Providence Bruins, there's the opposition, and there's Fabian Lysell on his own, doing his own thing. I wouldn't want to be his line mate. I'll tell you, because there's just not a lot going on there in terms of working with line mates or, trying to, you see a give and go once in a while, but not enough. So he's a frustrating player, and we're a year and a half into his pro career now, and you want to see progress, and I think that's what's frustrating for the coaching staff is he keeps going back to he regresses. He had a couple of games not long ago where he scored the game-winning goal in back-to-back games. He got to the inside and he scored. He didn't walk through people. He didn't dangle. He didn't go bar down. He just got inside and put the puck in the net. And there's not enough of that for me. So he's frustrating. And, as far as, anyone can pick out a clip out of a game and say, oh my, look at this speed and this skill. And yeah, but at the end of it, he doesn't score. So, big deal. I want to see, I'd like to see him finish plays more. And there just isn't enough of that to me.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. What have you thought of his play away from the puck? Because I know that was something that was highlighted a lot at Dev Camp. What have you thought of him kind of away from the puck?
I'd say he's better. He's better. He's working at it. He had a back check last night, where he got back, used his speed to catch up to a forward and help to squelch a play. So he's working at that. But you don't look to David Pastrnak to back check, right?
No.
You're looking for something else, and so he's doing that when the opportunity comes up. He is getting back. So I haven't had a problem with that, but it's the decisions when he has the puck and what he's trying to do that is the issue for me right now.
Yeah, what was funny was like the other night when someone tweeted the first video of him kind of skating into traffic on that delayed penalty with the power, coming off a power play. People were like, "Oh, he's got speed, get to interior ice," and it's like, no, why would you do that in that situation? Like you've got the man advantage, you are covered in defenders, curl away, like curl to the half wall and set something up, or like there's other things you can do that aren't just skate. Like have you seen that meme of I think it's Ralph from The Simpsons getting thrown through the window? Like, don't just do that. I set something up. I think that hits at what you said of play it more of a team game.
Well, and that's the frustration on that play, which happens, a lot of times on power plays. you want him with the puck, with speed, making the entry into the zone because he's so damn fast. But the play when you get in the zone is to give it to somebody who's open and then go into your plays on the power play. And a lot of times, the puck on his stick entering the zone, that's where the play goes to die because they take it away from him, they send it down the ice, and you got to start over again. But that particular play, they're down by, I think, 2 at the time. There's plenty of time. If they can get a power play goal on that power play, they're down by 1 goal with time left. There's plenty of time to make something of that. So I think part of that explains why the coach was frustrated that he didn't do more with that. It was the same, scenario that happens over and over again. Things don't happen. Like if that was the first time that happened, I'm sure Mooj wouldn't have said a word. But it happens and it happens and it happened last night a couple times. Somebody tweeted that they're looking for a big response from Lysell. Well, if you would think that, you haven't watched this guy because that's not his thing. Is a big emotional, fiery response. That ain't him. So, it's just, what do you expect from him? You expect some points, you expect some offensive flash and some flair, but it's got to be within the team concept to be successful. And right now it's not.
Yeah, I agree with you. So overall, I mean, do you, like, now with the Bruins offense stagnating a bit, is he ready for a call up or no?
I say no. And the reason I say no, aside from the things we just talked about, is it's recalling him at this point and giving him a shot. That is like a massive FU to everyone else on the team that's playing the right way and playing within the team concept and all of that. To call him up, he's not the best player on the team at this point. Not even close. So why would you reward a guy with a call up and an NHL chance? Why? Just because he's a first round pick? Just because you don't want to look bad? Because maybe somebody might think you picked the wrong guy. Well, that's not a reason to call somebody up. To me, they'll probably call him up tomorrow. Now that I've said that, but
a Christmas miracle.
I don't think the time is right for that. Let's see a consistent stretch of team play, good good offensive play, good defensive play, without the hiccups that we've seen that I've seen a lot in the last little while.
And I don't think this is an instance of the Bruins, being anti-skill or anti-creativity. I mean, they did it with Pastrnak. Like, they can do it. When you do the right things and play the right way, you get rewarded. I think that's any hockey team. I don't think that, like, the Bruins are killing another skilled guy. Like, Lysell's had these issues pre-Bruins. Like, this is not a new thing. It didn't just happen in Providence. I think he's had it for a while.
Well, I just, if you look back at his his track record, somebody's all, and not inside. I don't think internally anyone this is going on, but in the fan base and sometimes in the media, there's always a reason. There's always an excuse. Like, yeah, he fell to them in the draft because of vague character concerns. Well, what are they? Nobody ever says what they are. He goes to the World Juniors a year ago and just absolutely falls on his face. And somehow it was that coach's fault that, he didn't play him, he didn't like him, and then, this season a little bit, it's, he's only 20 years old. He's young. You got to, and now Mooj criticizes him, or, I don't know if that's criticism, but he called him out. He cited some deficiencies that he's seen. And it's like, oh, Moose doesn't like him. The coaching staff doesn't like him. Well, it's always somebody else's fault with this kid, and
Yeah.
that's tiresome. It's getting tiresome.
It's like some of the kids we watch in the youth levels and the prep levels. It's the coach's fault, it's never
Right.
the kids. It's
Right.
never the kids' fault. Outside of Lysell, I know you mentioned you don't think he's the best player on the team. But who do you think down there up front? Because obviously we've seen like Wartherspoon come up, Low Ride come up. Who do you think up front is worthy of a call up?
Well,
If anybody.
the best player on the team recently has been Merkulov. I hands down. The points are coming. There was a stretch where he wasn't putting up points, and but he was his play without the puck is much improved. There's much more of an effort without the puck to be in the right spot, to work hard, to get back. I've even seen him block a shot a time or two, which I don't know if that happened last year.
Another Christmas miracle.
Yeah, I mean, not that. It's just something he wasn't used to doing as a player coming up. He was always an offensive guy who did his thing with the puck, and without the puck, it wasn't really, that was somebody else's concern. But now he's made it into his concern, and he's playing well. He's doing exactly what they told him he needed to do, which is improve his defensive play. Because before, last year, the end of last year, maybe the beginning of this year, if he went up, well, Jim Montgomery wouldn't trust him at all defensively because he wasn't getting it done there. But now he's much improved in that area, and he's the best guy on the team at this point. He had a goal and an assist last night. He had 2 assists, but then they reviewed the scoring and took one away from him. But I mean, he's winning faceoffs. He's he's not going to win a Selke award, but he's doing enough defensively for sure. And the points are coming now. So I guess the question is, or the problem is, he's a center, and he's not a big physical center. He's on the, I don't know, he might be 5'11". He's not a big physical guy at all. So, guys like that, I don't know, that coaches are looking for 5'11" centers at this point that that aren't burners and aren't really physical. So he's got that going against him. And where would the Bruins play him at this point? I've heard fans say, "Well, put him on the wing." Well, I don't know. He doesn't play the wing. How's that putting him in a position to show off what he does best, which is make plays in the middle of the ice, possess the puck. You put him on the wing, and is he going to go up against Pat Maroon along the wall, and you think he's going to come out of there with the puck? Probably not. So if you're going to call him up, put him in a position to succeed, or at least to showcase why you think he's a good player. And so I think that's at center to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only place in the lineup, because again, you have Zaka's back, you have Coyle, those guys are staying there. You have Poitras at the World Juniors. The only area I would see would be third line center. That would probably be the only spot I could see if it was to happen. But again, you have Geeky, Beecher's the 4C. Like I think my guess is Montgomery would trust Geeky more than a guy like Merk. In that spot, but like that would be the only logical spot, because I agree with you. Bringing him up just to stick him on the left wing, and when you got Jakub Lauko trying to do the Michigan, I mean, Jesus, like, he's an NHL lifer now. What would you have done if Jakub Lauko actually hit that Michigan? I mean, that would have been like a top moment in your career, I would assume.
I would have been like a lot of people, just speechless. I was at a loss for words that he even tried it. But yeah, if he doesn't have any goals this year, right? Lauko?
I can look that up. I don't think he does.
So can you imagine if that had been his first goal of the season? And I mean, he's not. He does what he does. He's not a scorer. He's never been a scorer at any level. And again, I hear, well, he can develop a scoring touch. No. He have you watched him? He's good at what he does, but scoring is not going to be his thing. So trying the Michigan, good for him. It almost worked, but he's a fourth line left wing. He's fine in that role. Leave him alone. Let him do his thing.
I think it's gonna continue to happen. He's gonna keep trying it, and good for him. Like, do it, dude. Like, keep doing it. I mean, and that's what the thing about the scoring touch is interesting because you hear this a lot with Beecher too. Like, like the pass across to Pasternak, I thought was funny. People were like, look what he can do with good players, and it's like, did you notice he made a great awesome play in his own zone to get to intercept that pass. Great job with using his speed and size to get past the first defender. But the minute he crossed that blue line, that puck was to Pasternak as soon as could possibly be. So it's the same thing. I think Beecher is an awesome guy for that bottom six. But I don't think there should be an expectation, Johnny Beecher's going to develop a scoring touch. Like, it doesn't happen at the NHL level that a guy just develops a scoring touch. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah. Well, and that pass, and this has happened on other plays with him, there's a reaction like, oh, what a pass. Well, there's 700 guys that could make that pass. You're throwing the puck across to an open wing. It's NHL players can make that play.
They should.
They should. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll give him credit. He got the assist. It was a nice play, but, don't make him into, Connor McDavid here because he made one pass and Pasta, the 60-goal man, put it in the net. I mean, it's not that big a deal. But, the scoring, he's exceeded my expectations, I guess, Beecher has, because I didn't expect anything of him. I was a little surprised he made the team, but he's winning faceoffs. I think that if his faceoff percentage was like 40%, he might be in Providence right now. But he's a big body. When he applies himself along the boards and gets physical, he's productive and he wins draws. But he's not going to put up points. Not now, and I don't think ever. He's just not that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has the tools to be a really effective fourth line center in the NHL. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
Anybody else down in Providence that's been sticking out to you that you've liked? I know they've been struggling a bit, but is there anyone else down there that you think has been, overshot your expectations or anything like that?
Well, one guy who's having a good start to the season and has made progress, I think, is Mike Callahan. He is what he is. He's a defender first and always. He plays a simple game. He's a guy who I think coaches like the way he plays. He doesn't. He plays within himself. He keeps it simple. Up the boards. 10-foot pass to the open center. There's no. He's not carrying the puck up the ice and trying to beat anybody that way. He just plays within himself. And I think coaches like that, like players who play that way. They know what they are, and they play their role. So he's been good. Two guys who have been surprisingly, I guess, guys who've been around a little bit, Dan Renouf and Alec Regula, have been one of the best defense pairs in the American League. I don't see a lot of teams outside the Atlantic Division, maybe a few Northern Division teams, but the plus-minus numbers, and I know that's, that'll be a red flag to some people who will say, well, who cares about plus-minus? Well, when you got like a plus 14 and you're best in the league in that number, I think that means something,
It does.
So
it does.
Those two guys have developed into a real good shutdown pair. Does that mean that they're closer to getting a call-up or anything like that? Probably not. They're depth guys, but they're doing a good job. so far.
And you need that in an organization. Not
Yeah,
every
you
guy
do.
in the American League's going to come up, and
You
that's
do.
okay.
And
That's
you
okay.
look at Wotherspoon. I think he struggled the other night, but he's been pretty good. And again, like Callahan, he knows what he is, and he just does it. He moves the puck, he defends, and he knows what he is at this point. So I think he's been pretty good filling in. Long term, no, he's probably not the answer. But until I don't think you look at him as the answer to anything. He is what he is, which is a depth player who can come up and give you some games when somebody's hurt. In this case, Forbort. So when Forbort's back, Wotherspoon will be back down, and hopefully he can get back to. I think it was the Islanders game. I thought he was really good in that game. I can't remember what he did against the Rangers, but the other night I think he had a tough time at times. But the last but not least, Brandon Bussey was not good last night, and has had some games lately where he hasn't reached the standard where he was at last year. I think there's a little bit of a health issue there. I think maybe he's nursing an injury. But he's stolen games for them again this year, like he did last year. I think he's a terrific prospect, and I'm not looking for them to trade him, but when you have two goalies like Swayman and Ullmark, and then you got another top prospect in the minor leagues, you got to wonder what's his future. Is it in Boston? Well, not right now. So maybe it's with another team, and as part of a deal, maybe you can make a trade that improves yourself at the expense of a guy like Brandon Bussey, going the other way.
Lastly, just in the offseason, I mean, if they are to deal a guy like Ullmark during the summer, right? There were the rumors last summer. Let's say they pulled the trigger this summer. Could Bussey step in and be, in your opinion, a serviceable backup who can play 30 games during the season?
I think he certainly has that potential. The way he finished last season and the way he started this season, his numbers aren't as good as they were last year. And part of the reason is the team in front of him is not as good as it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, his numbers are down, but man, you watch him on a night when a couple times, where he just steals games, and just the level of compete on the kid is unbelievable. He just will not. There's games when he just refuses to be beaten and never gives up on a puck around the net. I think he can be an NHL backup for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. And I think you're the authority on Providence, so I'm glad to hear you say those things and stuff about Merkulov and Lysell and everybody. But anyways, Mark, this is a blast. This is us sitting at like Foxborough Sports Center in the middle of July with like a piece of Papagino's pizza, just shooting the shit. Is there anything that you're working on that you want to plug? Anything you're doing that people should be on the lookout for?
Well, I'm working on a story on Jaden Struble, as you know. I talked to Jerry Keefe about him yesterday, and I think he's an interesting story. Jaden is a Rhode Island kid, and he stepped in, with the Montreal Canadiens, for God's sake. I don't know that anyone, maybe outside of Jaden's immediate family, saw him playing like 15 NHL games and playing well for Montreal as a first-year pro, right out of the gate. But he's doing it. And the big stage, I mean, he's kind of a kid who's made for the big stage. He was a star first baseman for Cumberland, Rhode Island in the Little League World Series not that long ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wasn't just another guy on the team. He was like a big bat and playing first base in their lineup. So he's been there. He's had some of his best games in the Beanpot with a full house at the TD Garden. So maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that he can go and step into an NHL lineup as a rookie right out of the gate and play pretty well. Which he has so far. So I got a story going on that. And as I started to say, Jerry Keefe mentioned that he always had a huge talent. Jaden did, and you're starting really, I think, to see that in the NHL as he plays a simple game, not complicated. Make the pass, move the puck, defend. Guys who can do that and realize what they are can play a long time in that league, and hopefully for Jaden's sake, he can be one of them.
I agree. I'm excited to read that. That's for us over at New England Hockey Journal. But yeah, Mark, this was a blast. Thanks for taking the time. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have to have you on again during the season. But yeah, that's been Bruins Beat. I'm Evan Marinovsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.